Obviously got a big one tomorrow against Purdue. I think the guys are looking forward to competing in the game for sure. They got us the first time, beat us on a lot of toughness plays, especially at the end of the game, particularly the last 3 or 4 minutes. I thought in watching it again that DJ Bird made a really big difference from a physicality and a toughness standpoint late in the game and made a lot of winning plays for them. Obviously we've got to be better in those areas. You don't want to be. I think no one wants to be out toughed. Certainly in your own building. So, I think our guys will be excited to play. Since we played last, this is an interesting stretch because we play so many games in a short period of time. So we really tried to monitor their legs and minds and bodies and make sure we're fresh. And we've tried to be very specific with what we've done here over this stretch. Make sure we're getting done what we need to get done, but at the same time, maintaining that energy level that I think's been really good for us here over the last week. I think our defense is getting better. We still got some errors that are being made that we've got to get corrected. We're working diligently on that. I think our offense is improving. We're sharing the ball more. I think a lot of that has to do with trust at both ends of the floor, not only in the system but in one another and in their roles within what we're asking them to do. So I think they're starting to feel more comfortable and understand what we're asking for a little bit more, and that's allowed us to continue to get better. Questions?
You mentioned getting beat on those toughness plays. Are your guys different in those terms than they were at?
Well, I think the majority of the year we've made a lot of toughness plays. I just thought in the last 4 minutes the ones that Purdue made ended up being the deciding factor there in the outcome late. And obviously they were ahead close to double digits, and we made a furious comeback there late in the game and continued to play, which our guys have done all year, been very resilient in that regard. So once we got back in the game, it's like a one-possession game, and, we're in the mix, and then they beat us on a couple toughness plays. Purdue's always played with great toughness. Matt gets a lot out of his guys. They fight really hard, and I'm sure they'll have the same disposition tomorrow night.
You spoke very highly about DJ Bird when you played him last. Also,
sure.
Is there anyone that you've seen on your team that's kind of stepped up in that DJ Bird kind of role?
Well, I want our guys to be themselves. But I would say the guy obviously that stands out right now is probably Richardson. He's playing at a really high level right now, not only offensively but defensively. He's playing at a really high level. He's really been excellent at both ends of the floor, and we need him to continue to do that for us to keep getting better every day.
You talked about his defense and the little things he's done all year, but obviously shooting really well the last couple games. What do you think the key is for that?
No key necessarily, just continuing to keep doing the same thing that we've been doing from day one, not to deviate. I have a lot of belief in him, as his teammates do as well. I mean, that's what he does. I recall not too long ago sitting in a room similar to this where I basically said people in here are going to have to get it through their skulls that he's going to continue to shoot. Man, he's going to continue to shoot. And that's what he's done. He stayed with it, and he's started to make some, and obviously that makes us better. I'm happy for him. Kid works hard, and he's a great kid. Lauren?
John, talk about the resiliency of college players, college athletes. This age, some of us, that are older, we think, the world is in it, and then these guys bounce back. And what is it?
It's a great question. I would say, my old college coach, Paul Patterson, who coaches at Taylor, used to say to me that, kids can, at 18 to 22 years old, can forgive and forget faster than you think, than maybe coaches do. I think that may be what you're alluding to. I think that's certainly true. They're 18 to 22 years old and, have an ability to do that. I also think, our assistant coaches, our staff, those guys do such a great job of keeping those guys in the moment, and have really stayed positive with them all year. So that's been, I think, a good thing. Just kind of stayed with them, and the assistant coaches do a great job with their position groups of of connecting with our guys. I think that's really, really important. But I would agree with you. I think for the most part, 18 to 22-year-olds are probably a little more resilient than we give them credit for.
Did you have to, as a coach, learn to be positive when you're disappointed? I mean, you're disappointed.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think you got to fight that temptation. I think we all do. The biggest thing I've tried to do, and I've said this before, after we won the Ohio State game, that next 3 games, I just didn't think we played very good, and we got beat. After that, I think we've played better and better and better and better, and you know what? We lost some of those too. So I think sometimes what happens, Lauren, is people assume that because you get beat, you're not playing well or you're not getting better. Or because you win, you must be playing great and getting better. That's not the case. I mean, it's we look at it much more objectively than that in terms of are we executing what we're wanting to get done on the offensive end and the defensive end, and are individual players getting better? And there's no question that over the last 6 games, I've seen players, our offense, our defense, improve dramatically in a lot of areas, and we've got to continue to have that mindset that we can still get better, and I think we can continue to work and make less mistakes and continue to learn and grow within the system, which I think our guys have done. And I think that's important to have that mindset this time of year. I think the teams that focus on getting better every day in February and March, when it starts to become a grind a little bit, are the teams that get better at the end of the year and end up maxing out and reaching their potential. We want to be one of those teams.
I'll shut up after this.
You don't have to.
Griffey went 0 for 22. What did you say to him at some point along the way? That's a lot of misses.
I told him to keep shooting. I would agree with you. I thought there for a while, he had hurt us some defensively and maybe was getting lost a little bit with, Lauren was talking about the shot making and kind of challenged him. But, everyone talks about the layup last Thursday. How about his 8 rebounds? He had 4 offensive rebounds. We don't score in the first 10 minutes of the game on Sunday if he doesn't get 2 offensive rebounds in traffic, get fouled, and go 4 for 4 from the free throw line. He's graded out defensively almost double what he was grading out in the early Big Ten schedule. So, he's getting better. I like his mindset right now. He's communicating well. He's using he's got a great IQ for the game, and he's communicating to his teammates, and he's really engaged at both ends. And so, although certainly the spotlight is on his shot making the last couple games by a lot of people, I would agree with you. I think he's giving us more in other areas that's helping our team.
Have you noticed a difference in his attitude since he hit the 3 and kind of?
I wouldn't say attitude. He's had a good attitude. These guys. We don't. I don't do bad days. I don't do those. But confidence may be a better word. Sure. You see a shot go in, or you get rewarded for working hard, and you see some type of dividend. Sure, I'm sure. Yeah, it helps with confidence. But his attitude's always been. He's never had. A couple times maybe we've had. What I call a Tigger moment. You got Tigger and Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh. I don't do Eeyores. I do Tiggers. So a couple times I've asked the guys to go back to the locker room, have a conversation with themselves, and come back out as a Tigger, but that's been very few and far removed. Over today's practice 100, including the summer, and we'll have however many games we played, 25 plus 2 exhibitions. So that's a pretty high percentage of having a great attitude.
Sam McLaurin defensively, kind of getting overlooked. He's been pretty good.
Sam had the highest grade out defensively of any player I've coached since we've been grading out the way we do, which would be 6 years of a guy that's played 20 or more minutes in a game on Sunday. I mean, it was, the guys in the locker room yesterday, when we read that thing off, basically clapped for him. Darn near gave him a standing ovation. That's how good he was defensively. I've said all along he does things that don't show up on stat sheets, and I thought he was tremendous, obviously, on the defensive end on Sunday.
How exactly do you grade out on defense?
We have different things we're looking at. I mean, I don't want to necessarily get into the details of what our philosophy is defensively, but obviously we're trying to prevent rebounds. We're limit rebounding opportunities. We're not wanting to give up layups and deep post catches like everybody else. And, we want to be there on the catch on three-point shooters and not give them great looks and, try to do all that without fouling, because I think when you give teams points at the free throw line, that's that really hurts your chances. Now all of a sudden you're in foul trouble, you're sitting guys, your rotation gets a little wacky, and then you're giving them free points. So we're trying to take away those things like everybody else.
Has he been, Sam, I mean, you added him because he gave you something that maybe you didn't have on this roster. Has he been everything?
Oh, without question. Yeah, I mean, he's helped us immensely. Just his leadership. He always has a great attitude. He brings it every day. He has a physical disposition. The guys on the team respect him. I mean, how do you not? He dives on loose balls. He takes charges. He never misses a screen. Very rarely, if ever, misses a block out. Occasionally. He does all those physical, hard things that, are what winners do. I mean, the kid's a winner.
He got his hand on Holland's last shot, did he not?
He did. Yeah, deflected it. Yeah, tipped it.
He and Nana, I mean, they got a big job tomorrow with Hammonds.
They do, yeah.
What's the key to slowing him down? He's made a lot of improvement.
Well, I think that, and I mentioned it when he was talking about our defense earlier, I think the deeper position you give him at a guy that size, I mean, it's almost impossible to defend him. And he's growing and getting better by leaps and bounds. He had 30 points against Indiana about 10 days to 2 weeks ago. He's averaging 20-some points a game in his last 3 Big Ten games and 10.5 rebounds. He's just continuing to get better, and they do a good job of utilizing him and putting him in position to get the ball in positions to score, and he's tough to defend.
John, with everybody raving about the Big Ten, are you able to ever enjoy it as a fan? Are you able to watch games as a fan? Or are you able
I don't watch very many of them. Occasionally, my wife will have it on maybe when I get home or whatever. She'll have a game on. Like, I may watch a few minutes of it. But usually I say to myself, if I've got time to watch a half right now, is Connor and Cam still up? Because if they're up, I need to be doing something with them. And B, if they're asleep, then I need to be watching our film or getting ready for the next game if I got time to watch a half or a whole game. I mean, I don't do that. I watch a few minutes here and there.
how much excitement there is in the Midwest over the Big Ten?
Oh, no question. I mean, it's as challenging. I've said that from the very beginning, and I think it's proved to be the case, Jim. I mean, I think it's as challenging a league top to bottom as certainly I've seen as a kid, growing up in the Midwest, watching Big Ten basketball, being a part of it 04 through 08. I mean, it's fun. I mean, we enjoy it. I mean, we like the challenges. Every night's a fist fight, and it's a great league. Great league.
Hey, Griffey, is there any reason why he's changed and learned the system better?
I just think time. I think all of them are starting to. The one thing I said to myself the other day is my wife would tell you I'm not real patient. So but understandably, we've been here 8 or 9 months. I mean, we're using different terminology. Everything's different. Everything's the first time. It's like you've got experienced players, and that's certainly helped us. But in terms of learning what we're giving them, in essence, you have 14 freshmen. It's all new. There's no carryover. We use different terminology. We use, there's a few things, but it's a handful of things because it's just different. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just different. And I think now, they've continued to stay with it, had a great attitude, and they're just starting to feel more comfortable with what they're supposed to do. It's more instinctive now rather than maybe thinking too much, There's a gap there, that learning curve, I think you probably call it, and I think it's starting to get less steep and a little more shallow.
John, you used Devin Langford for a little bit Sunday night. Was that just based on a matchup, or did he grade?
Foul trouble, yeah. With JoJo had 2, and we just had foul trouble, and Devin popped in there and did a good job on the 1 or 2 possessions that he played. Graded out well on those 2 possessions, and. We need everybody to be ready. He was ready and did a good job.
With that learning curve you're talking about, how will it help Revante learn the system to where he is 100% prepared when you step on it?
Night and day. I mean, he's basically learned 2 positions all year, terminology, offense, defense. The set plays will change a little bit to take advantage of personnel. Those always get adapted a little bit to play to guys' strengths, but a lot of them will run the same or tweak. I mean, the practice format, how we do skill, when we lift, what our routine is. I mean, he's going to be at a huge advantage.
You've reshaped his body some.
Yeah.
I guess how much did he need that?
Well, he's done a lot of that, obviously. Mike Basquier, our strength and conditioning coach, he and Ray Vontae deserve a lot of credit. You know, at one point I think he had told me he was in the mid 260s to high 260s at Drake. You know, he's about 235 right now. We're trying to keep it about right there. His body fat's really good. He's doing a lot of extra work, whether it's shooting or skill or extra lifting, due to the fact that he's sitting out. And you know, I like what you know, how he's approached it, John. I think he's gotten better.
And can he be a guy that can step in next year and become a go-to guy?
Well, we'll see.
Is that what the design is?
We'll see. I mean, we're going to need somebody to. Obviously, we're losing quite a bit. He's sitting out. I think he has the capability of doing that. But you know, as my good friend Frank Solich would say, we'll see.
DJ for a second. One thing you kind of notice about him is when he's on the bench, he's shouting directions on the floor and trying to get guys in the right. Is he your vocal?
Finally got rid of that mouthpiece, as he would say. No question. Yeah, I mean that kid cares at a high level. You know, I meant what I said earlier when he wasn't shooting well. I'm gonna say it again. I ain't trading him for anybody.
Do we have any questions from the phone lines for Coach Groce?
Anybody else? Okay, guys. Thank you.